Well, anyway, I was listening to this today, actually, this wonderful album. So before we, there will be a purchasing link, by the way, just below this video for anyone who wants to check this album out. I would highly recommend that they do so. But the first question I have for you is, so before we talk about that album, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the history and origins of this band.
Oh, well.
So it kind of starts out as the history of our relationship, to be honest. So we met
18 years ago now.
Yeah, 18
Wow.
years ago.
Yeah.
Our first conversation was about music. We were defending Elvis, who was on the jukebox, and someone was dissing Elvis.
Yeah.
So our first conversation was us both saying, hang on a minute, Elvis, we ain't having none of that. So that was our first conversation. And then it wasn't until a good sort of
years later, wasn't it?
6 or 7 years or something into our relationship that we actually started doing music together. We'd both been in different bands and different projects, but neither of us were songwriters. So we knew that when we'd done stuff together that we wanted to be writing something original.
Yeah.
Which was a big learning curve.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I was listening to that record. I mean, you've got a fabulous voice, but you both sing on this record as well. I can't believe how good the vocals are generally. But
Oh, thank you.
you've mentioned Elvis. What else would you say were your influences in terms of what?
Oh, wow.
Your sound.
Well, there's so many, to be fair. Deeply into the blues and classic rock music, and with a sprinkling of country and Americana as well, to be fair. But my first influences were growing up would have been like Elvis and Buddy Holly and people like that through my parents and grandparents. And but then I kind of found my own way in the way of the blues and classic rock. And when we met, your influences were...
So I was
a lot of soul stuff,
a lot of soul and Motown
Yeah.
and sort of Beatles, really, from my parents growing up. And then when I met Aaron, the pub that I worked in, that he was a punter in, where we met, it was a rock pub.
Yes.
And Aaron was very much like into classic rock and also like Guns N' Roses.
Zeppelin, Cream.
So he then sort of introduced me to all of that, which was game changer.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting combination because you've got this beautiful, soulful voice, these sort of heavy blues guitar moments. It's just an interesting blend, and it's an intriguing album, really. We Fly Free actually reached #1 in the blues chart. Was that a huge moment for you? Do you think was that did that feel like validation or?
Well, it's very surreal, to be fair, because we recorded it during lockdown. Just after we'd sort of like come out of lockdown a bit, if you know what I mean. And just to put our music out there for critique to start with was very nerve-wracking, because we'd never done anything like that before. So we didn't know how it was going to be accepted at all.
I do remember because we'd put out, we'd done various recording projects and stuff, but nothing that we really thought was good. And we put out the EPs, 2 EPs, and we were like, this is really getting something now. This is sounding good. And when we went in to do the album, I remember saying to Aaron, we really need to find some PR because I think this is actually going to be really good, and we sort of were really getting faith in what we were doing. And then, of course, when it came out and we were growing our fan base more than we ever had because of lockdown, we were doing live streams every week, which went from being like 2 people, which was my mum and Aaron's mum on the live streams, to being over 1,000 people every week on a live stream on Facebook. So that it was just, everything was growing so quickly. And then the record was sounding good. So we sort of put our faith in it and went for it, and we're just so glad we did, and we didn't hold back because there's so much good music out there that people are like, you're sort of tentative whether you should put it out or not, so you don't give it everything. But we just were like, let's just put it out and give it everything, and thankfully it paid off.
Well, lockdown has yielded so much great music. So many artists, I always like to say, sitting around on their over sanitized hands, I've actually started to produce some great. The McCartney album was a lockdown album, wasn't it? The last Foo Fighters album, I think that was a lockdown album as well. I think it'd be a whole subgenre years to come they'll be looking at albums made during this period.
No doubt.
But I was watching some stuff live, and you've got a large following now. Got quite a lot of people following you now. It must feel, you must feel that all your efforts are sort of invalidated in a way.
Definitely. And we say, even though for a lot of like the last couple of years now we weren't gigging, this year everything's really picked up. We've never worked so hard. We've been, even though we've been playing music together for a long time, we have truly gone for it, and there wasn't really anything that could have been more validating than traveling like several hours, say, up to Glasgow, thinking, who's going to know us up here? We used to just be known locally and filling a venue. That was
really cool. Yeah,
that was amazing, because we had our local gig, which was, we done like 24 headline dates this year, but we had a local gig early on which was fantastic and sold out, and oh wow, hometown. But then we didn't realize that was going to be replicated in 23 other cities. It was like, what? Where are we? And people are coming out. This is cool.
So cool.
Gene Simmons says rock is dead. Do you think he's right?
No.
Well, in defense of Gene, I don't think he means that the music is dead, or that the people who love the music is still there. I think what he means is the infrastructure, the record industry. Say 20 years time, is there going to be another Beatles, another Stones, another Who? Where are those legends coming from? I suppose is what he's getting at. There isn't the investment in these artists, and
Absolutely.
you guys and lots of bands. I mean, Marillion kind of set the model for crowdfunding, kind of reshaping it for yourselves, which is absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, like you say, we do get what he means, as in and I saw a quote the other day which said something about how the music industry is sort of taking all of the artistry out of music to a certain extent, because and that's why we are now at this point, we're choosing to stay independent. We have been offered a major record deal, and we said thank you but no thank you, but for years ago that would have been our dream. Totally. We are going to sign, and we said, so can we work with our producer? We'd have to talk about that. And do we get creative? Can we make all the creative choices? And we were like, if we can't, we'd just see ya. Because it just kills the music if we don't love it. And
possibly,
well, even the thought of it, it makes it not so fun.
I think being an artist, you have to have creative control. If you haven't got creative control, you see the things that happen to like major artists like Prince and people like that, George Michael and things like that, where it can all go sour, and it's such a shame.
And if you lose the passion for what you're doing as well, that's like the scariest thing.
Totally.
Like, it's something we both love doing, and for that to be tainted would just be awful, you know?
Yeah, I remember Prince. He went through that period where he was writing "slave" across his head, wasn't he, and things like that. But back to your music. I mean, your first EP, the Uprising, is that correct?
That's right.
How difficult was that to get recorded and funded? I mean, did you do that yourself, or you have a shoebox of money under the sofa or something?
Yeah, we actually did that ourselves. We found our producer Adam, who continues to be our producer, and we took him our ideas, our songs. We went in there into the studio, and we played the songs through. Adam also plays drums and bass on all our recordings, and we just got stuck in, didn't we? And we were singing off the same hymn sheet, which was amazing, which is so cool.
And he's very open-minded. He's so he really takes on your vision. He doesn't try and influence you. Only, there's suggestions definitely and like creative input, but he wants to sort of channel your vision and make it even bigger, which is great. And for those early EPs, we hadn't built a fan base at that point, and we were doing, was it a song a month?
Something like that.
We were doing a song a month, so we could like pay for the song a month, and we'd done that for I think 7 months, and that was the first 2 EPs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What is your writing process like? I mean, how do you write and come up with songs? Is it like lyrics first, or do you come up with a great lick on the guitar? I mean, how does it all work?
It's all different, to be fair. I mean, I think you know, all of a sudden there's a lyric that comes up, or all of a sudden there is a riff or something like that. It's never the same on every song, is it?
No.
We do have a process, but the actual initial ideas can come from anywhere.
A few things kind of always stay the same, which is because Aaron does all our lyrics and I do the music, which is always the other way around to what people think. But
Right.
Aaron always, he has to have like silence when he's writing lyrics. Like I can't be even in the same room as him, because if I like make a noise, he might get a dagger. Like
I have to go into like this haze, you know, put me a couple of paracetamols or something and I'm away. You know what I mean?
Used to be Nurofen.
Used to be Nurofen, yeah. And it's just like, and I'm away, you know, and it's just kind of like, I have to get lost into what it is, you know, into the story.
We always used to joke, if Aaron had a bad back and took a Nurofen, he'd always write a song.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, so you say you write the music. Do you play an instrument at all? I mean, I've listened to your music. Really, it's we've got a guitar on the cover or something. That's a dead giveaway, isn't it? Do you compose on the guitar or?
So that's actually a resonator mandolin that I've got there.
Wow.
So my
Jethro Tull of you.
Yeah, my main instrument in our band, I play mandolin, mostly slide mandolin and violin.
Yeah.
But I play enough guitar to write with. Or
and
like
piano.
we've just done a couple of singles that we're putting out in December.
Not a giveaway at all. Not a giveaway.
And so one of those I wrote on piano. But mostly, it will just be I'll come up with the idea, or we come up with the idea together, and then Aaron, you know, takes the guitar, and then I fit the lyrics and write the melody. So it's that side of it. I think
what it is like our separate paths are very much on. I come up with all the lyrics, as we say, and Grace comes up with the music. But I think Grace has such a vision with the melodies and things like that, which are like amazing. So, you know, it just works for us.
Yeah, you say you play the violin. I mean, it sounds as if you were kind of moving in classical or folky sort of tradition. Were they your roots musically, really? I mean, I know you said you were influenced by soul and Motown, but why violin and mandolin and things like that?
It wasn't actually, fun enough, at all classical or folk. I had we had a teacher that we were going to at one point a long time ago, and he had a mandolin. He was a really cool guy, and he played in a lot of bands, and he was sort of a bit of a mentor for us. And he had a mandolin that he was selling.
Oh,
so
wow.
we got this mandolin, and that's where that started. And then straight after, I was like, it's the same tune as the violin. And I was really into a lot of the like more American country rock stuff, the current like Gretchen Wilson. I know she's a few years ago now, but
what was the time? Big and Rich.
And so that's where I wanted to play violin. And then when we started playing together, because those instruments, like you say, are more like considered folk or classical. When we first started playing together, our music, and Aaron was playing fingerstyle acoustic guitar, he was into that at the time, so we became quite Americana and sort of more like easy listening, which was cool, and it helped us to develop songwriting, but it wasn't really where our heart was. So that
we were going to rock concerts and blues gigs and stuff like that, and yet we were playing that sort of thing. So it's weird.
It was it took us a bit of time to work round to not just be able to write a song, but write a song that we really like. You know, it was like a process.
I mean, you've got a very American sound as well. Would you say that's obviously come from your influences?
I suppose so. I mean, some of the biggest influences would be British bands, though, to be fair, like Cream and Led Zeppelin, Stones, you know, so. But obviously, they're influenced by a lot of American music as well.
And we love like Southern rock as well.
You're actually, you've just done a live album. You put a live album out. That's right, isn't it? What's that one called?
Flying Free Tour Live.
Yeah.
Flying Free Tour Live. You can buy that as a physical format, or I will include a link for that as well.
Oh, fantastic!
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And if I've got this correct, aren't you supporting Reef?
Yeah, we are.
Absolutely,
yeah, we can't wait.
Just got confirmed the other day.
At Rocktober, we played. They were on the bill in there, and so we saw them.
Yeah, in Bristol.
And yeah, then after we got they offered us the support tour, which we jumped at because we like I mean I was literally on the dance floor dancing away over October.
That was awesome.
So
Cool.
yeah, so we're looking forward to it.
But I'd love to see them, because I've heard they're an absolutely cracking live band.
Energy.
Really
cool.
are so cool.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So you're supporting them on a festival date, did you say?
No, we're supporting them on their tour, on their UK
tour.
tour.
So that was a sort of one of their events with Planet Rock puts on. So there was like 4 bands on the billing. We played on the same bill as them. But yeah, this is we're for the first time in a very long time, we're going out and playing as a duo on the support tour, which we were really quite keen to do because we haven't done it for a while, because we've been touring with our band. So we're quite excited about that. We've got to build a new set, and it's going to be great.
How does that sound when it's just the 2 of you rather than your band? I mean, it must be stripped back a lot. It's just the guitars and voices mainly. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I mean, mostly that is what it is, but I do have a drum as well. So kind of like there's quite a big sound for just the 2 of us, isn't there? And you're playing mandolin and violin. And
Aaron sort of is quite skillful with his effects, so that we do get a really beefy sound. And then, of course, like, because I do play a lot of mandolin, especially in the duo stuff, to feel the sound out. We kind of fill all of the like frequencies to a certain extent. Yeah, it sounds like quite a wall of sound for 2 people. So it's going to be fun. Not as obviously as much as when we have a full band, but it's going to be fun.
Well, I've always wanted to see Reef. I must have a look, see what dates they're playing. If they're playing, I might have to check them out. If you guys are supporting them as well, that'd be absolutely fabulous.
Absolutely, be awesome.
Listen to this album; it's got such an incredible sound. What do you attribute that wonderful sound you get on this record? Is it just the instrumentation, the equipment, or the production, or is it maybe all 3?
I'd say probably it's all of it, to be fair. I mean, we do like to have a very live sounding sound, shall we say. We do record, we don't record in separate rooms, we record in the same room like they used to back in the old days, like in the 60s kind of thing, and in the 70s as well. And we really sort of like take that classical, or classic, should I say, classic way of recording and bring it sort of into nowadays, don't we?
Yeah, we our producer, we record in his house, which is a boathouse, so it's one big open space. And like even on the thing on the last song on that album, you can hear the birds singing outside, because it's
on a 2 or 3 of them actually.
And we try not to over perfect things. It's something that we've done in the past, and we know how it kind of kills music stone dead if it's too perfect and too pristine. So we do as much live. There's a lot of songs on there.
One song,
one take
on the last on the last song. In the case of Adam is actually playing drums in the treehouse. Just for a different sound,
so no, there's a lot of it that is played together. That's a really important thing for us. And also kind of keeping it in that one space rather than having isolated rooms. Then you're adding a lot of effects to get the spacious sound. It's just more organic, which is a word that we say a lot in the studio. Rootsy, organic, gritty, all those words.
Proper classic sound.
But yeah, it's got to be organic, sort of live sort of feel to it, which is fabulous. I love the bottleneck guitar on Never Coming Home. What inspired that number?
Again, it's for me, it's the very classic 70s kind of sound, which for me like really draws back to Led Zeppelin. So yeah, I mean, Jimmy Page, big hero.
We always say like it's riffs that pull us in.
Yeah, totally.
You'll find there's not many like long extended solos in our stuff, and there's a lot of people we love who like root all their music around solos, but for us, it's
all about the riffs.
It's all about a good solid riff and something you can grip hold on, and
I think that's where the blues influence comes from people like John Lee Hooker and Muddy Waters.
It's like that repetition.
Just the riff, does something just great.
What's you mentioned Led Zeppelin a few times. What do you think is the best Led Zeppelin album? I thought you might say debut, because that's the most bluesy, isn't it? The debut album.
Yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't like to say which one because I love them all.
Yeah.
I haven't got a
Change
favorite.
day
Yeah,
to
it just
day.
changes. Yeah, totally. It's what you feel like on the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Stairway to Heaven is probably my favorite song.
Is it?
I think so. Yeah, because it's just it's so changeable. There's so many
It's probably the
feelings
most
in that
covered
song.
ever, isn't it?
It's an awesome track. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But you do not feel it's one of those songs that's just overplayed.
I think that is, yeah, you can hear a song too many times, but then when you go back to the original, it always still sounds great, doesn't it? So yeah.
He'll drive you crazy. Who's the he in that one? Is that for your hubby?
That'd be me.
Yeah, it was.
I do drive her crazy.
Yeah, but I'm sure the feeling's mutual sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's just a general feeling in all relationships.
Yeah, we've been together for nearly 20 years, so I'm sure there's most people could associate with
exactly. Yeah, totally.
Okay. I talk about some of the other songs on this album. Do you remember my name? I think it's this great chugging rhythm to it. Would you describe this as a particularly angry number, or have I got that completely wrong?
No, you're spot on. You're spot on. It is pointed at. I won't say who, but it's pointed at somebody.
The lawyers might be watching.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we're definitely not angry people,
No.
but there's sort of a few things like that are really strong in our memories around our music, where people literally said to us, "No, you cannot do that, and you will fail,
and you shouldn't do that."
And those that has, those things do resonate with you for quite a long time.
Yeah.
So that definitely was directed at a particular person.
Well, I mean, I think one of the best songs on this album, I was listening to it this morning, is "I Have a Hurricane Friend of Mine" Part 2. In my opinion, of course, but I'm just interested in what is the inspiration, who is the friend, and where is Part 1?
Part 1's on the first album on We Fly Free, which is called Friend.
Okay.
And it's the connection between the two albums. The first one, Friend of Mine, is from one perspective, and Friend of Mine Part 2 is from the other perspective.
Okay. So what was the actual inspiration behind that? I mean, did you have somebody in mind when you were writing that, or?
Yeah, Grace.
Oh. And the question I have is, if you could think of the greatest song ever, a song that you wish you'd written, which song would it be?
Terrible
question, isn't it?
So many.
There are
great songs out there from so many great artists.
Indeed.
Oh man,
wow.
Yeah, that is a
question. Well, let's say Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way it's put together is absolutely fantastic, and I bet they've made a few quid off it as well. But
I should imagine, yeah.
For me, I think something like "God Only Knows" by the Beach Boys would be a good one for me.
Superb.
Oh, it's just absolutely remarkable. Brian Wilson said he wrote it so easy, it just came so easily to him, and but it's such a beautiful song. Paul McCartney says it's the best pop song ever written, actually.
Yeah.
Like Grace, you're not getting off that lightly. What was your song?
Oh, do you know? Because I instinctively was going to riffs because we're songwriting at the moment, so I was thinking of my favourite riff. But then, because you were saying you're sort of going down a more melodic route, what's the there's an Alison. Is it Alison? Daylight has found me again.
Oh, it's a beautiful song.
You can ask me anything, but where I've been. It's not Alison Krauss, it's another Alison. But it would be that song. It's such a beautiful song. Like, the melody is so gorgeous. Yeah. You should know the reason. Soft Place to Fall.
Yeah.
Alison Mora.
Alison Mora, yeah.
I'm just quite happy to sit and listen to you sing, really.
Sorry, I couldn't think of it. I was singing it. Yeah, that would be like the melody. It's just beautiful. Just a beautiful song.
I think this conversation could go on forever talking about the best songs. I'm thinking from different artists, because I was just thinking there's some Johnny Cash songs that are like, oh man. Then I'm thinking Buddy Holly. Then I'm thinking it's like,
that's the problem. I think when I put people on the spot with that question, it's not fair, really, because you just tend to think, I better answer the question. You just yank something that's in your head, really. But it's one that needs considering for a bit, really, before you come back. But Another question that you might consider a bit of a stinker, I always ask, is which album do you think is the most important in the history of popular music? The Beatles' Sgt. Pepper or Elvis's debut album? I kind of anticipate what you're going to say already.
I think, you know, my opinion, it would be Elvis, because I think he really propelled rock and roll possibly 20, 30 years before its time, I think.
And that music, the guys he had playing, you know, on that album, and all those people involved with Sun Records at the time, some big names, Scotty Moore on guitar, which Creedence Clearwater Revival said they pinched so many riffs from Scotty Moore. It's just wonderful.
He was phenomenal.
I
always say that James Brown, I love James Brown, but he described Elvis Presley, so he was just a hillbilly that discovered the blues. But there's, I mean, you listen to that album, and there's just obviously so much more than that.
Yeah, for sure.
I think, like, for vocally, I mean, Elvis, you know, you can't.
We can sing the phone book, and he really
there's a few people we consider to be like the greatest vocalists at the moment, but of all time, you know, he was phenomenal. And also,
showman as well.
What's so interesting is the culture changes in music, and Elvis was such a key part of one of those. But again, equally, so was like the Sgt. Pepper album.
But then, like, when we watch documentaries from the Beatles, and they're saying that one of their biggest influences was Elvis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They said, you know, Elvis and Little Richard, all those 50s guys were huge influences. But, you know, I mean, when he did that comeback special, I think was it in the 68 comebacks at 68, that was absolutely fantastic as well.
I think it was just genius, to be honest. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the film, the Elvis film that's just come out.
I haven't yet, no.
It was so good.
So good. I mean, at first I was a bit like, I'm not sure about this, but being an Elvis fan myself, but then by the halfway through, I'm thinking this is just amazing, and it really tells us.
Colonel Parker rip him off quite badly, or?
Yeah, massively. By the sounds of things, I mean, we've all heard the stories, but then you know, to watch this, that you expect to be, say, 90% true. He literally took Elvis to the cleaners by the sounds of things.
And the saddest thing is, obviously, like, it's not just that they took the money off him, it's that he sort of worked him into the ground, and we lost him because of that.
And wouldn't let him tour into Europe or Britain or the world, because he didn't have a passport himself, so therefore he couldn't keep he couldn't keep control of him. So I mean, I'd recommend going to see the film for sure. But
I've watched live performances, and you're absolutely fabulous. I must check out that live album of yours.
Oh, thank you.
I'll be interested to kind of compare the live versions to the studio, but just see if there's any difference, really. Although you said that, you know, they're very much like live takes.
There's still quite a big difference.
A few differences,
the biggest thing for us is we wanted to keep we wanted you to hear the sound of the room on the album. So it's so you feel like you're in that space. So we actually listened to it the other day, because we've got a double vinyl coming out with the live album. So we sat and listened to the test presses, and it completely took us back there. And you can feel like the energy and the emotion in the room. I'm literally crying in the middle of one of the songs. You know, it's like,
it's really good,
because everyone was singing the song and everyone knew the words, and
it's great.
And especially that gig in particular was a light. Like, it was so lively, and it, you know, we'd all been like locked away, and it felt like we all went a little bit wild. You can kind of feel that. It's really cool.
Anyway, it's been absolutely wonderful chatting with you. Your album is called this is the latest album, Saving Grace. So that I will definitely, I would urge you to my subscribers to check this one out. I have done featured in a little video that I did I think a month or so ago, but I will definitely put a purchasing link just below there.
Appreciate that.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I wish you the best of luck with your tour. I will check out the dates, and who knows, maybe I'll come along, see Reef, and see you guys play at the same time.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it, Barry. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you for sending me the album as well.
No pleasure.
No problem.
Okay. All the best. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Right.